This is the Astrology and Tarot Show with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. Here is your psychic astrology for the week starting July 13. Your tarot this week is Aries, Temperance, Taurus, the Three of Cups, Gemini, the Four of Wands, Cancer, the Three of Pentacles, Leo, the King of Pentacles, Virgo, the Two of Swords, Libra, the Two of Cups, Scorpio, the Ace of Cups, Sagittarius, the Ten of Wands, Capricorn, the World, Aquarius, the Four of Pentacles, and Pisces, the Queen of Cups. Aries, as your current image rests on the fact that you've been trading on certain aspects of yourself while underplaying or forgetting others, you may want to start by bringing all of you into the new picture. Can you get away with it? Well, only you can judge just how ready the world is to welcome you as you really are, which is a living, breathing experiment. But as that's the only way you're going to feel genuinely more challenged, then it may be worth a try. What's going on here is all in your first house, the way that you physically look and appear, and also your reputation, your name, and your brand. This has been a really long cycle for you of many years, and it changes all the time. At the moment, you have Neptune and Saturn dominating in your first house, which is very much about escaping from reality, at the same time that you have to accept a test of patience or a waiting game about the way that you look or the way that you appear. Understanding that you may need to juggle both can be quite helpful on this cycle. You may have to wait until the first quarter of 2028, Aries, not necessarily with this issue, but with the general question of how you look, in order to feel that you've finished a long test of patience. After that, you can take a holiday from reality all the time. The image that you project, the way that you are seen, the way that people think about your name or reputation or your title will be very much in a parallel universe, if that makes sense to you now. Maybe you're already heading that way. Sometimes people just do it online, and there are other reasons why you may want to spin a different version of yourself from this week. Taurus. Well, you've been around with these social media, friendship and group questions before. Not surprisingly, you'll feel a detachment about what's going on this week. There is classically a been there, done that feeling about the North Node in your 11th house of social life and social circles and social media as well. Right now, you'll feel it in connection with anything from Substack to your oldest childhood friend. You will have a lot of wisdom and experience to draw on now, no matter if you are dealing with one person or many. The North Node always goes backwards through the zodiac, never forwards. So that's why you're also going backwards, back to the drawing board every single time you try to make a difference to the friendship or to the social situation. This stops at the end of July, and you will really notice the difference, Taurus. This is, in fact, the last of a lot of Pisces cycles in your zone of the group and of allies and friends, networks, and so on. So you could write a book about what you've been through. But what you're dealing with this week is long closure. It will take a little bit more time, then the repetition will stop, and the revolving door will stop too in the final days of July. Gemini. Uranus in Gemini is asking you to accept a new mirror or a new reflection of yourself. It may be online, it may actually be in a mirror. Matters of image, appearance, and reputation will not make you feel trapped anymore, if they once did. Even though you'll feel as if you're watching life press the unpredictable button, you can now feel wonderfully detached about all those endless me issues if you understand that this is about being free. If you were ever pigeonholed or stereotyped a certain way, you are now free to go. And if you got used to looking at yourself, your hair, your face, all of you a certain way, now you're also being told, well, you don't have to look like that anymore or be that person anymore. This is one of those transits that goes in stops and starts, Gemini. Uranus is unpredictable. It can feel like a storm that comes from nowhere. It is also quite enlightening when it happens, and you're moving towards one of those moments this week. There will be more to come in the rest of 26 and 27, and one of the liberating things about your chart at the moment is understanding that you can, in fact, relaunch yourself more than once in the future if you want to. Cancer. Well, sweeping solutions and big opportunities will be played out with money, business, property, and possessions at this time. While Jupiter in Leo is in your second house of personal budget, Pluto, with all his transformation, is in your eighth house, which classically ties up other people's money, homes, and assets with your own. If your financial interests or your real estate is tied up with another Cancerian or a Capricorn, this is historic. Whatever signs are involved, though, Jupiter in Leo in a second house is all about rare opportunities with money, shopping, buying, selling, investing and borrowing that have been following you around for days. Jupiter is an ancient symbol in astrology. It goes back to the 1st century AD, and it was also known in Asia as being linked to luck. That's where the Asian zodiac comes from. So luck has something to do with this, and between now and the middle of 2027, you'll be given one lucky break after another. Of course, you may not want to take them. That can happen too. At the other end of the spectrum, you do have to think about the balance of power with classically a partner or a relative, because this is the 8th house of complicated relationships and arrangements. Things are very different between your budget, his, hers, theirs, or ours, as the year goes on, and there will in fact be a sign-off decision in January, February 2027. Leo. The line will be very clearly drawn at the end of July with finance or real estate. When it comes to your own numbers, your credit card, your checkbook, your salary, and so on, you will have a lot of wisdom to draw on, along with a lot of life experience from 18 or 19 years ago. It's only when you need to face the karmic involvement of a second or third person in your security, though, that you will have that typical South Node and North Node revolving door feeling. Nothing moves, nothing changes, everything is stuck. Going back to the drawing board is really common, and you may have been going through this with a mortgage and marriage, for example, or a will or inheritance. There are variations on this theme, Leo. It can be about a trust fund, a living will, life insurance, or just the involvement of your children, for example, in your own rental situation. But whatever you're going through, the revolving door will stop as July comes to an end, and you then go into a really interesting new phase in August and September when you're setting up the future. You could make or save a lot of money from the middle of 2027, and that will be hinted at once you get fully into August. Virgo. Depending on your own personal situation, you will either take a spin on the karmic wheel with your partner, or they'll take one with you. The partner may be personal, platonic, or professional, but this is the last time. It ends as July also ends. It won't necessarily feel negative or positive, just stuck. Every revolution of the wheel with your partner, of whatever type of partnership this is, will remind you of how much experience and wisdom you can bring to the situation. Virgo, this transit in your opposite sign of Pisces is also reminding you that 18 or 19 years ago, either with them or with another person, you set up certain situations like a ripple effect, which is now reaching your shore in 2026. You have probably given up any thought of ever being able to change what happens, as the other person is on the same script all the time, or the situation they are in is really like a rewind of the same film. But this is typical of this cycle, which moves backwards through the zodiac, and it will end as July also ends. Libra. Your approach to the world of children, teenagers, and younger adults is now something that can empower you. It will be helped by your wisdom about self-control. This sense of familiarity about the power question, or knowingness about your own willpower, is now one of the reasons you can take this generation in your stride. We may be talking about pregnancy here, or a whole generation called Z. Perhaps you may have known your son or daughter in the context of pure control questions in the last year or two together, or you may be dealing with the same old situation with a co-parent who is also your co-pilot. This is Pluto in Aquarius moving through your 5th house, and you only get it every 248 years. From the end of July, this also becomes karmic Libra. It will bring in whatever was going on 18 or 19 years before. You'll become more aware of that as you go through August. But it's this week that we're talking about. And a classic Pluto challenge is to find a way to hold the reins in your life and also later on share them. If you are feeling pushed, you can push back. That can happen too on this transit. But the balance of power is as delicate as atomic power is in the real world. Therefore, it has to be handled with extreme care. Scorpio. Dating, the bedroom, babies, children, and younger adults are only caught in a loop with you for a few more days. This loop will end as July also ends. This is the North Node in Pisces moving backwards through your chart. It describes the process of watching life from a distance with the comfort of experience from last year, or even the wisdom that you had 18 or 19 years ago. Don't be surprised if you have an automatic, intuitive sense about people and situations. The soundtrack is very familiar, whether this is intimacy in a relationship or marriage, or whether the issue is a child, a teenager, or a whole generation of younger adults. The only real risk with the North Node in the 5th house is a refusal to develop or even to try because you think that nothing will ever change. But you still have a few more days to go, Scorpio, and changing on the inside is actually what this cycle is all about. In any case, it will stop as August comes into view. Sagittarius. If you have a part-time or full-time job, a degree to obtain, or an unpaid role, this endgame cycle with the South Node in Virgo will help you manage your working life by delivering the same people and situations in a loop, at least until the end of July. This loop applies to all kinds of careers, and the sense of familiarity and been there, done that will be down to experiences from 18 or 19 years ago, which is the last time that you had this cycle. The repetition will stop as August begins. For some of you, the issue has been health, mental health or physical health, getting in the way of your workload. Again, you may have felt that you were on a circuit, but the circuit will stop as this cycle also stops at the very end of July. After that, Sagittarius, you're free to go. You can and will affect your destiny professionally, academically, with an unpaid role or with your health, and that can begin as the wheels start turning as August comes into view. Capricorn. Foreigners and foreign places are on repeat, and don't you know it? People don't stretch themselves enough in this repetitive cycle because everything feels as if it's happened before. The names and the faces may change, but the song remains the same. This is wasting a chance to go forward in August, though, because the cycle will be done by then. So just because experience in this life or another one has made you feel like an old-timer at the situations that you encounter in a loop with foreign countries or foreign nationalities, don't quite give up on trying something new in terms of altering your attitude. In fact, altering your attitude is the whole point of this transit. It's meant to make you a better person on the inside. However, if you feel that you have nowhere left to go, you will know it for a reason. And as July fades out and August comes in, for the first time in a very long time, you should be able to say or do things which actually alter the script. Instead of people rewinding all the time, you will find that you are in control of the clapperboard. Aquarius. Despite this overwhelming sense of familiarity about what is happening in terms of your money, your real estate, business, charity, and so on, there is still plenty of space for you to extend in August. Think creatively now about what might be possible in August and September if you were to use your experience and go further. In many ways, the end of this stuck and repetitive financial transit is a safe port for you because it will never give you anything or anybody you haven't seen or heard before. 18 or 19 years ago, you set up ripples of karma which are now gradually fading out. You may be owed from that time or you may owe, but this may explain why nothing has moved forward, no matter how hard you have tried to come up with a different scenario with the money or the property. Sometimes it's about valuables too. In any case, once you are at August, you are in a completely different cycle, and what you do in August and September can set you up to make or save quite a lot of money from the middle of 2027. Pisces. The South Node in Virgo is out of your life in August. So look at the loop of the time warp with the partner first. Any sort of partner. It might be marriage, de facto, or committed in a relationship. It may be professional, business, or purely platonic. Virgo is your opposite sign, and it rules your opposite number, be it through work or be it through personal relationships. The South Node is always about a loop, a circuit, or a time warp, as I've mentioned, and you may be wondering if it will ever stop. It can make you an expert on the way that you and he, or you and she, function together. And yet, as the end of July is also the end of the cycle, that kind of inner knowing about your relationship with this person will also help you in August. What is going on here is really enormous in terms of your horoscope zone, the zone which rules your other half or the other side. We'll see the end of repetition as August comes into view, the chance to set up the future differently in August and September, and then from the middle of 2027 until the middle of 2028, you are in the biggest and best cycle for partnership in 12 years. This should help you get going with what you want to do later on, even if this week you still find yourself stuck in a revolving door. For all the 12 signs of the zodiac, this week is crucial because it is the beginning of the end of what they call the North Node and South Node cycle. So I have been talking a bit about people feeling as if they are in a revolving door or stuck in a circuit. This cycle is really well known through antiquity. You will find it called the dragon's head and the dragon's tail in the Middle Ages, and it's possible that they knew about it at Stonehenge, because the number of stones in what they call the Aubrey holes around the outside of Stonehenge correlate with the nodal cycle. The dragon's head and the dragon's tail feed into each other on medieval measuring devices, and you'll see it in art as well. An astrolabe or astrolabe, which navigates from that time, shows you this endless spin. That's why nothing can ever really stop or start with the nodes. You'll sometimes also read that the North Node is about what you should be taking in and absorbing and pursuing and digesting, and that at the other end, the South Node is what you must let go of, get rid of, delete, and so on. In actual fact, the nodes don't work like that at all. The repetition that you've been going through is about one feeding the other in an endless loop. So if, for example, you are an Aquarius or Leo, it's been financial, it's been about the real estate or the paperwork, and round you go. Yet the end of the nodes is really important. In fact, there are no more cycles to come here until you get to the middle of 2027. So there'll be a really long gap between what is happening now and what you begin as you go through the fortunate Jupiter in Virgo transit around this time next year. That sense of that was then and this is now will really be quite strong in August. You're also going to see lots of people around you making sign-off or sign-on decisions. It may be about money. It may be about family, property, a house or apartment. It may be about work or career, and so on. Sometimes it's about friends and groups. It's almost as if people are getting ready for that now, which might explain why you are sighting people beginning to realise for the first time that things could actually be different. They will be different. And if you have anything in Virgo in your birth chart, you will have been going through this on a personal level with your workload or your well-being for quite a long time. Basically, the nodes operate like Groundhog Day. You can set the alarm, wake up, and try to do and say things which are very different to get a different outcome, but find yourself sent back to the drawing board every single morning. So if you do have Virgo factors in your chart, or somebody that you know does, this revolving door feeling will have been really strong, and it will have been felt in context with workload or well-being, as some of you have had recurring or stuck health issues. Once the node is out of Virgo and August is well underway, everything is possible. In fact, if you, with your Virgo factors, or somebody else with Virgo factors, starts talking about 2027 as restart, that's absolutely in sync with the astrology, and it's going to work really well. There will be a reboot around the time that the sun goes into Virgo next year, so late August to late September, about a year from now, that will show you and others with Virgo factors that work can be different, and so can well-being as well. Wherever you're at with your personal chart or your solar chart, have a good week as you are almost signing off from this cycle, and I'll catch up with you next week.